How do you put someone behind bars and still leave the public wondering who made the system possible in the first place? That question sits at the center of the Epstein story and continues to bother people years after the headlines first broke. The case feels unfinished, almost suspended between justice and secrecy, and that tension is what keeps it alive in public conversation. When well-known voices began openly questioning the gaps in the story, it added another layer of curiosity. Joe Rogan, known for speaking casually but directly about uncomfortable topics, became one of the people voicing what many already felt: confusion about how so many details could remain hidden despite years of investigations. The deeper people looked, the more contradictions appeared. Documents were released but heavily redacted. Names surfaced, yet accountability seemed selective. For many observers, the issue was no longer just about one individual, but about the systems and networks that allowed certain behavior to continue unchecked. The mystery surrounding sealed files, unanswered questions, and missing context transformed the case into something larger than a scandal. It became a symbol of distrust in institutions and a reminder that public narratives often reveal only part of the truth. And from the very beginning, the question wasn't simply what happened. It was who knew, who stayed silent, and why so much remains unclear even now.
One of the most surprising parts of the story is that Joe Rogan's connection came not from involvement, but from refusal. Years before major document releases dominated headlines, attempts were reportedly made to introduce him to Jeffrey Epstein through mutual connections. Rogan later described how quickly he rejected the idea after looking into who Epstein was. That moment stood out because it contrasted sharply with the behavior of many others who continued to interact with Epstein despite his legal troubles already being public knowledge. Rogan's reaction has since been discussed as an example of instinct overpowering social pressure. In elite circles, introductions often happen casually, framed as opportunities or networking moments, and questioning them can feel socially uncomfortable. Yet in this case, hesitation may have prevented deeper ties. What makes this moment compelling is not just the refusal itself, but what it suggests about awareness. If one person could sense something was wrong, why didn't others? That question lingers and leads directly into broader discussions about how influence works around powerful figures. The idea that someone declined what others accepted adds tension to the story and highlights how easily perception can shift over time. What seemed like a simple decision in the moment later became a powerful contrast once the full scale of the scandal emerged.
Beyond individual choices lies the larger mystery of how Epstein maintained access to influential circles even after serious accusations had already surfaced. Business leaders, academics, and public figures continued to appear in his orbit, and many later claimed they misunderstood the situation or were unaware of details. Critics argue that this explanation feels incomplete, pointing out that warning signs were already visible. The social dynamics of prestige may offer part of the answer. People often assume that if respected individuals are present, the environment must be safe, creating a false sense of legitimacy that discourages skepticism. This phenomenon may explain how networks around Epstein persisted for so long with stronger public pushback. The story reveals how reputation, status, and proximity to power can blur judgment, even among intelligent or influential individuals. As more connections became public through documents and discussions, many people began questioning not only the individuals involved, but the culture that allowed such relationships to continue. It shifted focus from personal decisions to systemic behavior. The realization that so many people crossed paths with Epstein with clear consequences added fuel to speculation and public frustration. Each new name or association deepened the sense that the story extended far beyond one man, creating an ongoing narrative about influence, denial, and the cost of looking the other way.
The mystery surrounding Epstein's wealth added another layer of intrigue that continues to spark debate. He lived with extraordinary luxury, moving between private islands, jets, and properties across the world. Yet the exact origins of his fortune have remained difficult for the public to fully understand. Financial experts and observers repeatedly questioned how someone with such influence operated with so little transparency. This uncertainty created a space where theories flourished. Some suggested he acted as a financial intermediary or fixer, while others speculated about connections to intelligence networks or powerful sponsors. It's important to note that these claims remain unproven, but the absence of clear answers keeps speculation alive. The story becomes less about proving one theory and more about understanding why clarity never fully emerged. Even people close to the case admitted that the financial side felt unusually opaque. The unanswered questions about money reinforce a central theme running through the entire narrative: visibility without explanation. Everyone could see the lifestyle, the access, and the influence, yet the mechanisms behind it remained hidden. This disconnect fuels the ongoing fascination, because it suggests that essential parts of the story still lie beneath the surface, waiting to be understood or revealed. The discovery of what became known as the Black Book marked a turning point in how the public perceived the case. When reports emerged that a former employee attempted to sell a collection of names and contacts linked to Epstein's world, it confirmed suspicions that meticulous records existed. The idea that powerful individuals and personal connections were documented in one place captured public imagination immediately. Later discussions about sting operations and recovered evidence added credibility to the notion that investigators had access to far more information than the public realized. Alongside this came claims of digital databases and additional records, though many details remain unverified publicly. What mattered most to public perception was not whether every allegation could be proven, but the implication that a map of connections existed somewhere behind closed doors. The Black Book became symbolic, representing both evidence and secrecy at the same time. It suggested order behind what appeared chaotic, and it raised uncomfortable questions about who might be protected or exposed, depending on what those records contained. As conversations around the book spread, the story shifted from isolated accusations to an interconnected network, deepening the sense that the case involved layers still hidden from view. The private jet known as the Lolita Express became one of the most discussed elements of the case, largely because of flight records and witness testimony that placed numerous individuals in proximity to Epstein. Public debate intensified as names appeared in logs, though legal experts repeatedly emphasized that travel records alone do not indicate wrongdoing. Still, the symbolism of the plane turned it into more than just transportation. It became a representation of a world where boundaries seemed to vanish. Victim testimonies describing life aboard the aircraft added emotional weight to the narrative, revealing an environment that felt detached from normal accountability. These accounts painted a picture of power operating in closed spaces, where silence became routine and intervention was rare. The fact that staff and passengers were reportedly present during troubling behavior raised further questions about collective responsibility. For many observers, the plane represented how systems can normalize the unacceptable when status and influence overshadow ethics. As the public tried to make sense of these accounts, speculation intensified about who knew what and when. The ongoing discussion about flight logs and testimony reflects a deeper struggle to separate facts from assumptions, while confronting the uncomfortable reality that association alone can carry enormous implications. The story eventually returned to one figure who remained central even after Epstein's death, Ghislaine Maxwell. Her conviction provided a sense of closure for some, yet her continued silence has left many feeling that key answers remain locked away. Invoking legal protections during questioning is standard legal practice, but in a case already surrounded by secrecy, it amplified public suspicion. Victims described her role as deeply involved, while her legal team challenged those accounts, creating a stark contrast between narratives. This tension keeps the story active because it suggests that important information may still exist beyond what has been publicly revealed. Discussions about possible cooperation, appeals, and future testimony continue to emerge, each one reigniting speculation about what could still come to light. The unresolved nature of her position reinforces the broader theme of unfinished justice. The public sees conviction, yet still feels disconnected from a complete explanation of how the system operated.
As long as unanswered questions remain about networks, records, and accountability, the story continues to evolve. What began as a scandal has transformed into an ongoing mystery, one that forces audiences to grapple with uncertainty and the possibility that some truths may remain hidden for a very long time.